my biggest loss
Great segue.
As SMU turns the page in 2026 is going to be Matthew Hibner. I'm going to miss Hibby, man. The offense, it looked like at times in 2024, it ran through him after RJ Maryland went down. And that was such a scary time after he tore his ACL against Stanford. And then for Matthew Hibner to kind of pick up the torch, and you think about the long catch and runs that he had against Cal. I know he had one last year, and then to kind of get going early on this year as well. And you talk about the fact that he was such a great blocker on the edge, a very underrated tool that he carried in his tool bag. I mean, being a true Y tight end, a George Kittle, kind of one of those types where I think he's probably a 4th or 5th round pick. Just I need to look at the tight end class this year for the NFL draft, but he's certainly a guy that I anticipate hearing his name called in April, because in terms of consistently playing at a high level, he was hands down the best offensive player.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. I mean, I could go TJ Harden too, and it's almost cheating because we know some of what's coming into the portal and we know who's coming back and all that stuff. But man, I'm going to go with Ahmad Moses. I mean, he is so good. I mean, he is just, and I feel like this year, I think we saw, and some people might be like, I don't know about this, but I think we saw the best version of Ahmad Moses as far as being everything for this football team. He had to play nickel at times. He had to play, high safety. He had to do this. He had to do that. He had to help out a young linebacking core get lined up. He had, different guys at the nickel position. It seemed like every single week. It was a lot on him. And for him to play at such a high level, and he ends up being the team leader with 104 tackles on the year, 5.5 tackles for loss, 5 interceptions on the season. Dude is just a boss. He should get more and more All-American, nods. I think if SMU would have played for an ACC championship, that could have helped. But just what a stud. I'm going to miss him. That is the downside of like what we're starting to leave with some of these COVID years and things like that. Man, 4 years of Ahmad Moses cruised by. Can't believe it. Seems like just yesterday I was doing his signing day, because 4 years ago, no, 5 years ago, and next month was, when I met Michelle. And so it was right in that time where I was like, hey, sorry, we're, just kind of still getting going here, but I got to go to this guy's, signing day press conference. And I mean, he was just under the radar, flipped from UTSA. I mean, what a huge kind of program changing pickup he was. And a good dude too. So I'm going to miss Ahmad.
He got hotter as the season went on too, which was, I mean, so he had a 95-yard pick six against East Texas A&M, which was great, but
good.
4 tackles in that game, 8, 6, 6, 9, 11, 6, 4, 15, 4, 8. And then he finishes with back-to-back double-digit tackle days against Cal and Arizona. So,
and he'll play special teams.
Yeah, he will. I mean, I'm excited that we're going to go cover him at the East-West Shrine Bowl.
Yeah, big win. Big dub for the pod.
No doubt. He'll be missed as well. He's another one of those guys, and I felt bad in his post-game press conference. I should have asked him more questions, but we'll get him back on for you guys during East-West Shrine Bowl.
Yeah.
Biggest what if this is the season of what if, Billy, I feel like there's a lot. So what is the biggest what if? I will start by saying if SMU beats Baylor, because with the 3 missed field goals in that game, that feels like the biggest missed opportunity for me. Because if you beat them, you go into the TCU game at 3-0, which who knows, maybe you have higher confidence. Maybe you play a lot better against Missouri State because you're not tight, you're not coming off a loss where it was hard to practice, all those things. You probably just have more momentum at that point. And okay, so let's say you still lose to TCU. You're sitting at 1 loss to your arch rival. You're feeling pretty good about beating a very talented offense, which, look, I know Baylor missed a bowl game, but at the time of that game, that offense was looked at by us, by around the country, as one of the top units in the nation. And I know they put up 48 on us, but if you make one of those field goals, if it's the one in regulation, they're not putting up more than 40.
Yep.
You know, and so it would definitely feel better at 10-3, even if everything else sticks. And the reason for me not saying that my biggest disappointment is Wake and Cal is just effort, and the effort piece and the attitude piece is such a huge what if, while Baylor can kind of be boiled down to those special team blunders.
Yeah, I think Baylor was a tough matchup, and you look back on it now and you're like, okay, all right, and we said it in the offseason, like CJ Sanders was going to be one of the biggest losses of off that 2024 team, like arguably the biggest, and that nickel position got torched against Baylor, and it did, and it was not pretty, and there were a lot of other issues in the secondary of that game too, and they couldn't get home, and you had an opportunity to close out the game, and you can't offensively. I am going to pick Wake though, and Wake. I thought the defense brought it, number one, against a good running back, against an offense that quarterback wise it was bad, but they got right. They were ready to go, and there were just so many kind of like moments of that game, and it was circled as a trap game going in, and you knew like it was homecoming for them. I mean, all like everything, like you talked about it. Maybe you talked about it too much, but I as an SMU alum, probably the most disappointing game, honestly, ever covered. And maybe I'm missing one. Maybe there's one that really just should stand out, but I think relative to where the program is now and all of that, like there's, for up until 2023, we've really been conditioned to be like, okay, SMU is going to go somewhere around 7-5. And that was the best of it, since Chad got there in June and had kind of revived that and kind of made that kind of the standard. But so you were always expecting something to go wrong. But over this course of success, you were like, okay, I'm a big believer, and I still will take this that Wake was just not as good as like metrics, as good as this product of their schedule, all of those things. And so for that reason, that is the biggest what if, because if you just have one play go, Kevin gets the first down, face mask gets called, pass play. I mean, it was a good call. It was a good like blitz. They had two guys right there around the pass that set up the game-winning field goal. I mean, so many things. Matthew Hibner gets hurt in that game, and trip, like there's a blown protection. Kevin gets sacked. That's their only touchdown of the game, right? I think only touchdown of the game.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's just such a fine line of execution in that one, and I like just that's the one you needed to make this whole season end up in Charlotte. And Cal, you could have like, okay, they're going to have a new coach. They're going to be fired up to play. They weren't bad.
Yeah.
I mean, Cal really wasn't bad. They just finally lost to Stanford. So they're like, all right, we're making a change. Like Cal had beaten Louisville. You knew what you were getting into from a talent like perspective. But the Wake game, like that is the most disappointing, because when you needed, and I know that one sticks in Rhett's craw, and they obviously fixed it the next week, but that's the one where like, all right, that one offensive staff wise, like you had to have come up with something that fixed that game to get through it, and you didn't.
SMU also missed an extra point in that game.
Blocked.
Yeah, blocked.
Yeah.
So, and I know, like, I kind of hang my hat on my streak, and like, life isn't all about streaks, but I certainly didn't anticipate the undefeated conference record to fall at the hands of Wake Forest.
Yeah.
I was anticipating it happening against Miami.
Yeah, that's why Red even like I mean, kind of thought he No, going into Clemson, he kind of talked about it in the press conference leading up to it. I think it's kind of like, wow, this is interesting. You're going on the road to face Clemson, big game, and you bring up the streak. I was like, that was where it was like, okay, this one might get dicey, but no, they handled Clemson. They just wild. That is definitely my biggest what if, because it can go to Charlotte and then really what if?
I guess we would have been clinched at the point you're playing Cal, or it wouldn't have
Yes.
mattered anyway.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I get that.